The Zephyrian warships hung in space like predatory shadows, their sleek hulls gleaming under the distant starlight. Commander Vextara watched through her view screen as the last of the refugee ships limped toward the orbital station, their engines sputtering, hull plating scorched from the running battle they'd fought across 3-star systems. "Ma'am," her communications officer's voice trembled. "The civilian vessels have docked. All 43,000 refugees are aboard the station." Vextara's 4 eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. 8 Zephyrian dreadnoughts surrounded the station, each one capable of reducing the ancient structure to cosmic dust within minutes. Her own modest defense fleet, 12 frigates and 2 aging cruisers, was laughably outmatched. "The Zephyrians are transmitting," the officer continued. "They're demanding unconditional surrender. They want the refugees handed over for processing." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Everyone knew what Zephyrian processing meant. The insectoid race had been expanding aggressively for decades, consuming entire populations to fuel their hive mind collective. Whole species had simply vanished, their civilizations reduced to empty worlds and scattered bones. "How long until the next scheduled patrol arrives?" Vextara asked, though she already knew the answer. 72 hours, ma'am, assuming they haven't been delayed or reassigned. Too long. Even if they held out against impossible odds, the refugees, mostly Kenthari families fleeing their conquered homeworld, would be dead or worse before help arrived. "Ma'am," her tactical officer spoke up, "we're receiving a transmission from—" "Wait, this can't be right. What is it?" "It's a single ship approaching from the outer rim. Small vessel, maybe a light cruiser. But the signature—" The officer's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Ma'am, it's broadcasting human identification codes." A murmur ran through the bridge. Everyone had heard stories about humans, the strange bipedal species from a backwater world called Earth. They were relatively new to galactic politics, having achieved faster-than-light travel only a few centuries ago. Most established civilizations regarded them as curiosities at best, primitives at worst. "They're requesting permission to approach," the communications officer reported. "One ship?" Vextara couldn't hide her confusion. What can one human vessel possibly do against 8 Zephyrian dreadnoughts? The human ship came into visual range, a battered, angular vessel that looked more like a military transport than a warship. Its hull bore scorch marks and what appeared to be hastily welded repairs. The name UES Defiance was stenciled in faded letters along its side. "Incoming transmission from the human vessel," the communications officer announced. The main screen flickered, revealing a human male with graying hair and intense blue eyes. His uniform was practical rather than ornate, and he carried himself with quiet confidence that seemed oddly reassuring. "Commander Vextara, I'm Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earthship Defiance. We received your distress signal." "Captain Chen," Vextara began carefully, "while we appreciate your response, I must inform you that we're facing 8 Zephyrian dreadnoughts. Perhaps it would be wiser for you to withdraw and—" "Negative, Commander. We don't abandon civilians." Chen's expression hardened. "Besides, 8 ships isn't that bad. Last month we held off 15 at the Kepler station evacuation." The bridge fell silent. Vextara studied the human's face, searching for signs of bravado or madness. She found neither, only grim determination. "Captain, no disrespect intended, but how does one ship expect to engage 8 dreadnoughts?" Chen smiled, and something in that expression made Vextara's spine tingle. "Commander, you're thinking like prey. Humans don't think like prey." Before she could respond, alarms began blaring. Her tactical officer's voice cut through the noise. "The Zephyrians are moving. All 8 ships converging on our position. Time to intercept?" 4 minutes. Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, I need you to move your ships to defensive positions around the station. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. Just protect those refugees." "Captain, what are you planning to—" The transmission cut as the Defiance suddenly accelerated, racing directly toward the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Vextara watched in horrified fascination as the single human ship charged 8 vessels, each one 10 times its size. "Is he insane?" her tactical officer whispered. Then something extraordinary happened. As the lead Zephyrian dreadnought opened fire, the Defiance didn't attempt to evade. Instead, it dove straight into the weapon's arc, too close for the massive ship's guns to track effectively. The human vessel latched onto the dreadnought's hull like a parasite, and suddenly explosions began blooming across the larger ship's surface. "What are they doing?" Vextara breathed. Her sensors officer looked up, awe in his voice. "They're using breaching charges. They're cutting their way inside." The Zephyrian formation dissolved into chaos as their lead ship began listing, internal explosions rippling through its structure. The remaining 7 dreadnoughts tried to fire on the Defiance, but their target was too close to their flagship. They'd risk destroying their own vessel. Then the impossible happened. The Zephyrian dreadnought simply died. Its lights flickered out, its engines went silent, and it began drifting as internal explosions tore it apart from within. The Defiance detached and immediately targeted the next ship, moving with predatory grace that reminded Vexitara of an ancient Canthari saying, "When death hunts, it does not hesitate." Over the next 20 minutes, Captain Chen and his crew systematically dismantled the Zephyrian fleet, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through sheer audacious aggression that defied all tactical doctrine. They boarded ships that should have been impregnable, fought through corridors designed for creatures twice their size, and somehow emerged victorious each time. When the last Zephyrian ship fell silent, the Defiance hung alone in space, battered but triumphant. The refugee ships were safe. The station was secure. Vextara's communications officer stammered, "Ma'am, incoming transmission from Captain Chen." The human appeared on screen again, his uniform now torn and stained, but his expression calm. "Commander, the refugees are secure. We'll remain on station until your reinforcements arrive." "Captain," Vexitara said slowly, how is this possible?" Chen shrugged. "Most species in this galaxy evolved as prey animals, Commander. You think in terms of hiding, evading, surviving. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. When we choose a target, we don't stop until it's down." As the transmission ended, Vexitara stared at the debris field that had once been 8 mighty warships. Around the bridge, her crew worked in hushed reverence, occasionally glancing at the human vessel with something approaching religious awe. Later, when the reports were filed and the refugees safely evacuated, word would spread throughout the galaxy. A new phrase would enter the lexicon of a dozen species, whispered with equal parts fear and hope. When all seems lost, when darkness closes in, remember, somewhere in the void, humans are coming.